Um, hey everybody, welcome back to I'd Rather Be a Buffalo, where we help you get through life's storms with God's help. That's what we're here for. I'm Kevin Gregg. That's Doug Riggle. Before we get into our conversation today, please do us a favor, like, subscribe, share this with people. That's the best way that you can help us as we're trying to get this message out. There's two topics that I'm hoping to touch on. The first one is this. When we're recording this, Doug, I've been noticing on Instagram that you've been posting a lot about chemo stuff and everything like that. And sorry to put you on the spot because sometimes I do this with Doug, but just how are you and what's going on? And maybe some of the stuff that came, because I know that several of your posts today were definitely about encouragement, which is what we do here. And I guess my big question is are there certain things that are going on with you that sparked that messaging for you this week?
The big thing for me is, so this was my 24th chemo treatment this week, which I've been having them steadily for over a year now at this point. And there's a part of me that's getting tired of feeling just a little nauseated. I'm not nauseous like a lot of people go through, but just this general feeling of like, bleh,
Yeah,
that goes
sure.
about 3, 4, 5 days. Then I get a week off. I feel great. And then I go back into it again.
Yeah.
Um, I just, as long as it's working, I want to continue moving forward. But at the same time, there's just this part of me that, like, okay, when's this going to end?
Hmm.
And it's not even that bad for me. I mean, I didn't lose my hair. I'm not vomiting. I'm not doing all these things that other people I see around me do during the chemo sessions. But yeah, it got to me a little bit this week, and trying to work through it so that I'm not missing any hours at work,
Yeah.
but I'm also extra tired during chemo week as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, I go
Something.
eat at my desk and take a nap during lunch.
Yeah, right. I mean, something that just kind of like went through my mind is just like, if somebody told you, hey, in order for you to stay healthy for the rest of your life, or at least for what this season is, we just need you to eat cardboard 5 days a week. That's all you got to do. Right? I just need you to eat that. And it's like, that's okay. You can eat whatever you want, but just make sure every single day you have at least one piece of cardboard that you eat. Just go, yeah, I mean, I can do that. Right. Right. Did you ever read the book or see the movie Holes? Shia LaBeouf was in the movie version of
I
it.
never got to see that. It's on my list of things to watch.
It's actually a very good movie. The book was actually really good because, kids growing up and, would come home and I read the book and the book's fantastic. And the movie adaptation is a good version of it. Um, Spoiler alert. Sorry, buddy, for a movie that's almost 20 years old. But, this kid gets sent basically to this, education camp for kids that are you know misbehaving. Instead of putting them into juvie, they put them into this program. And the job that they have a kid do every day is you got to take a shovel. So the shovel is however long, it's about as high as you are. And the idea is you dig a hole so that the as deep as the shovel is, that's how deep the hole is, and it has to be just as wide as what the shovel is. And so
Wow.
right, and so they're doing this in the middle of like high desert where it's all this stuff. And one of the other kids says the thing, he says, you know what? Your first hole is your hardest, right? And then he gets through the day and is exhausted. And then the next day he goes back and he does it and he goes, it's not as easy. And he just asked one of the kids, he said, what are you talking about? I said, oh, I lied. They're all like that, right? It's like, holy crap, man. Sometimes that's sort of what it feels like in life, right? Where it just feels like, let me just get through the first thing. And you just go, oh crap, I got to dig another hole. This sucks, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the chemo, it sucks. And the things that I like to eat don't taste good during that
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Certain things, not everything, but certain things that I normally consume are like, doesn't even taste good. It's like, why even buy it? But the next week I'll be fine.
We just came back as this is the first recorded episode that Doug and I have after we got to see each other in New Orleans together face to face,
It's-
which we should share with people what that was like, which was awesome. But we were also coming off of a weekend where we got to have all of this great food. You had an apple fritter that was like three times the size of your hand, man. It was crazy. I had
I
these.
bought one when I got back here too. I
Yeah,
couldn't really
buddy. Hey,
store
you were supposed to go on a 4-day fast, right?
that did not happen.
Yeah, right.
An apple.
So good. We should share this with the folks. So Doug and I we actually, you guys don't know this, but Doug and I now have been working for over the last 3 years together, on this manuscript and these journals and on this project. And we had not met in person the entire time. And it was awesome. We got to go down to New Orleans. We're very grateful. The company that Doug works with, Centric Consulting, they throw an annual party, which is usually in a different part of the country. This year it happened to be in New Orleans, and uh, Doug was gracious enough to ask me to come out. So we got to meet in Dallas and then fly out together and spent the weekend together, which was awesome. And for me, the one big thing that I've talked about before is whenever I'm meeting somebody that I've been working with, online, I'm always like, the first thing I always notice is like their height or how they are in person. For me, it wasn't weird at all. For me, I've had it with other people, but for me, seeing you and meeting you is just like, oh yeah, this is like
Yeah.
totally natural and stuff. I think I probably jarred you a little bit. You know,
Well, I think both of us were just so happy to be in the same place at the same time for the first time in years.
dude, it was awesome. We just had a great time. We got to go on a riverboat on the Mississippi, and we got to hang out with a lot of Doug's coworkers who were just amazing. Walking down Bourbon Street, seeing like 35 different live bands, just while walking down the street. Crazy. New Orleans School of Cooking had a great night over there in the World War II Museum, and
That was
it was
great.
just awesome, buddy. We
Yeah,
just had a
it
great,
was
great
a very
time.
good time.
My
It's not
point, yeah, go
city.
ahead.
I would say it's not my normal city, but it's not about where I am. It's about the people I'm with 99.9% of the time. I can care less where I'm at. It's just the people that matter.
Yeah, you got some good people that you work with, dude. That's for sure.
I
They're
love my
they're a good crew. They're a good crew. My whole point with that is you're also coming off of a, weekend of all that food and all that stuff. And then, you got to jump right back into number one, getting back into somewhat of a better diet for yourself. But then also, on top of that, you just add chemo, which is just like, you know, what's some of the inspiration that you had while you're writing some of your posts this week on Instagram? I mean, obviously, it's one of those things like going, well, if I'm dealing with this and going through this, maybe one of the ways I can get through this is by giving encouragement or help to somebody else that might be in the same place or worse off than me.
that's the main part of it. It's just with whatever I'm dealing with, knowing that someone out there is dealing with 10 times worse or more. It just really gives me encouragement to want to encourage others and to give back in some way that's meaningful and a way that lifts me up while I'm writing it and composing it. Um, and also really kind of helping to impact lives and trying to make sure like I'm looking for ways to encourage people to respond back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they respond, I respond back to them and just start dialogue and start conversations about everyone's got something that they're dealing with or something that they've never dealt with that they need to deal with from their past. And it's just a great way to encourage people to move forward and to put some things behind them by
Absolutely.
journaling, by talking about them, by taking them before God and just taking a few steps to move forward.
Well, I'll tell you what, this dovetails into one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, which I'd also shared on Instagram with some posts as well. But that idea that you talk about just like the writing and the reflecting, which is so super important, you know. And I've been in a place for the last couple of months, especially with, client work and employer work, which has been challenging for me. Um, but I've had this moment, and I've definitely had a few of these moments where I've kind of gone, yeah, Laura, I'm not seeing the results that I'm hoping for, right? It's like, I thought I had an idea of how this was going to go. I think that I knew what direction that you're going in, but I don't know if I can see the evidence for what this is. And at times feeling discouraged, at times just feeling discouraged and having that moment of going, yeah, maybe I got this wrong. Like maybe I've got this wrong, and maybe it's time for me to kind of like really, you know, do a radical pivot. And maybe it's about completely walking away from certain things. These are thoughts that go through your head as you're trying to process this stuff. And I had this moment. I won't share the whole thing. I'll probably share it with you later privately, Doug. But I had this thing that I was writing, and something kind of really struck me, which I don't know if I've shared as much here on this podcast. I've shared it in with a creative accountability partner that I have. But I had this realization of going, again, and this will sound cliche, but this work or the things that I'm doing or we're doing or that we're working for, this isn't just about me, right? That this is something that God has given me, and this mission or whatever this is that He's given, the some of the fruits, maybe many of the fruits, I don't know, I may not see in my lifetime. But like part of this stuff is like I had this vision that kind of racked into focus. And I'll be frank on here, so I might as well be somewhat timely for when this comes out. There's a guy, I cannot think of his name off the top of my head, but there were some clips from an interview that he did. He is a guy that's in his late 40s. He's a multimillionaire. I think he's like 350 million dollars or whatever is his net worth or whatever. And he has really been big into um, the human longevity, or what can I do with this stuff? And like, so he's altered his diet. He does things like he literally gets transfusions of blood from his teenage son that like he will,
I've
right?
heard of it.
So you,
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about, this guy.
I do.
So, and he's all about like trying to get himself to look like how he was in his 20s. And his whole thing is like, his mindset is about like, oh, we should be treating death as if it's a disease that we just need to beat, and I want to be try to be as immortal as possible. So this clip came up of him the last week when we're recording this, and he was in this interview talking about future generations, and he coined a term for, I see a forthcoming multi-ethnic generation of humans that are going to be they're going to be generation zero. And those human beings are going to make a decision where they are going to divorce themselves from everything that we know as, relationally or historically or anything else that we know to what it means to be a human being. And they're going to divorce themselves of that, and they're going to be completely open to whatever the future holds. And the first thing that I thought of was like, this is evil, what you're talking about. Like you're basically asking somebody to go, remember how God created you in your image? So get rid of all of that, right? And and also the same week that we're recording this, there are things which I am fond of with Elon Musk, and then there's other things I'm not. He had his first Neuralink implant and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
don't I don't think it's a good direction for us, right? So I think about all these things, or this, the elements that are happening with those like sort of transhumanism. And when I talk about that, it's anything that's about like, we need to be more robots, or we need to, or exactly the idea behind things like Neuralink and stuff like that. It's like, how do I download my consciousness so that I can wake up in an artificial body, but my consciousness is still there? And so achieving it basically, it's a version of the Tower of Babel. It's
Mm.
it's a 21st century plus version of the Tower of Babel. I say all of this, Doug, to say that immediately I start thinking about the work that I'm doing and that we're doing here. And I immediately think, my great great grandchildren or my great grand nieces and nephews, they need my help now, right? Like they're going to be in a future facing men like these, right? or situations like these. And if I bail out or don't do the mission or the work or the hard stuff where I'm not seeing the results here, it's not about the results for me here now. It's what is the foundational stuff that I am contributing to that is going to help people 30, 40, 50, 100, 500 years from now, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. That just and again, this was a lot of stuff that came up through writing and reflection and prayer, and Kate has been amazing in this. Um, because I really keep thinking, who do I keep thinking of? I keep thinking of Noah building an ark, right? Like Noah building an ark when there's no such thing as rain, right? Or, Abraham being asked to leave his father's country to go, you know, and not having any children and being told that he's going to be the father of nations, or Joshua, who's a fantastic example for us, who had to go along with the punishment with the Israelites for 40 years and then in his 80s taking over the nation of Israel and then going into the promised land and not being handed stuff in the promised land, then having to go into a series of battles and wars, right, to try and do it. And I don't know. I think that that was just sort of the thing that just really racked between my mind and brain and my heart this last week, where I just went, "Yeah, I get it. Like this sucks, and you're not seeing the results of what it is, and things aren't going along the way that you hoped for, or how you thought that they were. But that doesn't mean that this stuff isn't necessary for you to do because it is part of a larger plan. So, you know." Just
Yeah.
some of my thoughts I've been going through this week.
There's those thoughts from a biblical perspective on generational curses that and the ones I can't remember what verse it was in, but it talks about like the curse will be visited on for the next two generations, something like that. But and that's the negative part. The positive part, where someone's following after God, talks about will be blessed to 100 generations or more
Mm-hmm.
after you. And it's just that thought of the decisions we make today absolutely impact the future. Even for someone like me who doesn't have kids, I've got, nieces and nephews and family members and great nieces and great nephews already. And
Correct.
what I do today can have an impact on their lives. Just that I'm the product of what my parents grew up with from their parents and their parents before that. I just don't know it. It's like it takes a long time to tease apart where these things came from in your life. And just it gives me encouragement to continue striving to do what's right and what's good for this world.
Correct. Because it's not about curling into a ball and going, ah, oh, all right. Let me, why bother? You know,
Right.
let me just do my comfortable thing, and this is just it. Let me just ride this out. And I truly do feel like God's like saying, sorry, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. This is not about you just riding it out. We're all on a mission, you know?
Exactly.
And it is about completing those parts of the mission which are essential, you know? My gosh, I don't want to be, and again, that image of grandchildren or grandnephews or grandnieces or all that stuff who are like left in the future without the stuff that I was commissioned to do by God. And now something else that they were supposed to be doing that was reliant on some of the work that I had laid down. Now all of a sudden they've got to do cleanup for my inaction, you know?
Hmm.
No thanks. I'm not interested in that, you know? I'm not
Yeah.
interested in that at all. So I think that that was just sort of like just the biggest thing that was just on my heart this week, you know? And I don't know, just asking for God's help in it. And again, I have to remember this, and we have this in our devotionals that we do throughout the course of the week. But I have to remember to pray for not only God's inspiration, but also his joy, because it's so easy. It is so easy to get caught. Man, we are honestly, dude, like we are being broadcast. It's I could go down a massive conspiracy route. It's almost like they're constantly taking out like a ray gun of despair, right? That's shot at you. whether it's through these things or, you know, or through what you're watching or through the news or whatever like that. It's just like, what? Right? It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And it's just like going, I can't be feeding myself on that. That is not giving me joy. That's not giving me joy. So nuts, buddy. Any
Focus on
other
the good stuff.
Yeah, you just have to. Uh, any other thoughts that are on your mind or something that's on your heart that you feel like sharing?
It's it's tough work at times, and I realize even with myself to stay encouraged, but it's so worth it when I focus on that, even when I don't want to. And that's the I think the turning point for most people. We get to a point, we start a habit, or we try to start a habit. We get so far, I don't feel like doing it anymore. I'm not gonna get
Mm.
up and exercise anymore. Then you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna see the benefits of it. You're not
Yeah.
gonna reap the rewards of doing good if you just decide at one point in time, hey, Jesus Christ is coming back in the year. What point do I have nothing left to give. I'm just gonna give up and ride out the wave until rapture comes. That and I've heard people talk like that. And I'm like, that could be a year, that could be 100 years, it could be 1,000 years.
Totally.
We don't know when, period.
Yeah. We also have to recognize, man, like Satan was an angel, and Satan is masterfully intelligent. He's more intelligent than any human being right now. I mean, Jesus
Yep.
Christ is the only exception with this stuff, right? But the fact is, it's like he is masterful and the prince of lies, and so easy to like this super intelligent created being by God, which has completely turned away from, but it still has all of those characteristics. And how easy it is to seed in a lie that is wrapped in beauty and truth, right? Oh, Jesus is coming back. All of that's coming. Jesus sits on the throne, all that stuff. So I'm just going to sit back, right?
Yeah.
It's like going, wait a minute. You got the truth in there about what's happening, what's coming, but you've also had this, you've had this very evil thought that's been sown in there, right? Because Satan is going to do as much as he can to keep as many souls out of the kingdom of heaven as possible. He hates you. He abhors you. He abhors us. He hates that we are the beloved of God.
Yes.
He has put us above the angels. He hates that, you know? And he will do anything in his power to corrupt that and to abolish that, even with sweet sounding thoughts and sentiments. You know, we'll follow the Pied Piper into hell.
Hmm.
I'm not interested in that either. You know,
Yeah.
it's really this thing of just why, like, and honestly, man, talk about masterful work that's come out of the late 20th century and early 21st century, of really just like follow your bliss. You do you, your
Yeah.
happiness. Just find comfort. Just find safety and comfort and happiness. That's all you need to find. That is not, and exactly what you just talked about, Doug. It's like we get into a habit, and then the real stuff, the real growth happens once we're at the point of making that decision of going, I don't feel like doing it today, or I'm tired today and I don't want to do it. And it's like you push through anyway, right? It's
Yeah.
big, buddy. Big.
Got to push through. It's worth it. Even when it doesn't feel like it, it's worth it.
Your great grandkids and grandnephews and nieces are counting on you.
Amen.
Don't throw in that towel. All right, buddy. That's what I got for today. If you want to reflect, it's always great. We have a free journal that's over at I'd rather be a buffalo.com. I'm going to make this pitch to you too, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to do this here on the podcast. We are growing this brand and this project, and we need your help with it. What's the best way that you can help with us? I would say for right now, go to I'd rather be a buffalo.com, or you can also go to Instagram. Find us on Instagram at I'd rather be a buffalo, at I'd rather be a buffalo, and follow us. on there because it's going to help with our growth. Okay. The more people that are getting this out, the more people that are getting this message, and you can be a part of us helping shape. We have several projects that are coming down the line, and we need the eyeballs on it, and we need your help and your support to do it. And the best way that you can support us, go to Instagram at I'd rather be a buffalo and follow us over there. And if you see stuff that's on there from clips from our shows or whatever, share it with other people as well and get out the word so we can keep growing this audience because this is an important, vital message that we think that we can be a part of to help and to help others. There you go.
That's it.
That's it. You want to say anything else to him before we split?
Nope. While you're out there in Instagram, Kevin and I are also individually have things out there, so you can follow us as well, and you get some additional insights into what we're doing at I'd Rather Be a Buffalo just by following us directly.
Amen. Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.
Bye.